It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're stupid. It's because the systems you live in, the beliefs you've absorbed, and the coping mechanisms you've adopted have all failed you. The modern world is saturated with distractions, temptations, fake identities, and false rewards. You're addicted to dopamine spikes from social media. You're overwhelmed by options but empty on meaning. You're overinformed but underdeveloped. You've been chasing comfort instead of order and relief instead of discipline. But here's the thing. Order doesn't emerge from chaos by itself. You have to bring it. You have to choose it. Step 2. Take responsibility. Even for what's not your fault, this is where Peterson draws the hard line. Yes, the world is unfair. Yes, you were hurt. Yes, your parents messed up. Your school failed you. Your friends betrayed you. But none of that changes the truth. You're still responsible for what you become next. Responsibility isn't blame. It's power. It means that even though you didn't cause the fire, you can still pick up the hose. And when you start to accept that, really accept it, not just post it on a story, you shift from being a victim of circumstance to a participant in your own becoming. Step 3. Define what reset really means. This isn't about moving to a new city or getting a new haircut. Resetting your life is about reordering your internal architecture. That means confronting your addictions, excuses, lies you tell yourself, people you let drain your energy, habits you use to numb instead of grow. A reset means asking, if I were to rebuild my life from scratch, brick by brick, what would I keep? What would I throw away? It means burning the parts of yourself that are outdated. And yes, that's going to hurt. Growth always feels like loss at first. Why most people will never reset? Because it's easier to scroll. Because it's easier to hope things magically improve. Because pretending you're fine is more socially acceptable than saying, I'm broken and I need to start over. But the longer you wait, the deeper the rut. The more you lie to yourself, the heavier the weight becomes. There's a quote Peterson often references, if you think tough men are dangerous, wait until you see what weak men are capable of. The same goes for weak habits, weak systems, weak values. They rot from the inside, and by the time you notice, your foundation is already cracked. Your mission, if you're brave enough. Before we move to tactics and tools, here's your first assignment. Identify 3 habits that are slowly killing your potential. Call yourself out on paper, in writing, today. Don't sugarcoat it, don't justify it, just face it. Because in the next section, we're going to talk about structure, how to build a life worth waking up to from the ground up. But none of it will matter if you don't first admit that your current way isn't working. This isn't for everyone. But if you've read this far, maybe you're done pretending. So you've accepted it, your life needs a reset. Now comes the next question, how? That's where most people get stuck. They have the motivation, they have the desire, but they lack one crucial thing, structure. And discipline is nothing without structure. It's like trying to run a marathon without a road. You can be strong, fast, and determined, but if you're running in circles, you're going nowhere. Jordan Peterson says, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. That's not metaphorical. That's practical. Let's talk about how to actually build that order. Step 1. Fix your damn schedule. Peterson is a big believer in calendars. not because they're pretty or aesthetic, but because they save you from chaos. Here's the hard truth. If your day isn't structured, your mind will be invaded by everything and everyone. Without a schedule, you don't own your time, your urges do. So, here's the discipline blueprint. Wake up at the same time every day, even weekends. Schedule your day hour by hour, even if you're not doing anything. Prioritize sacred blocks for deep work, not just checking emails or scrolling. Plan your meals, your rest, your workouts. Give yourself boundaries, when to say yes and when to stop. Because freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is knowing exactly what needs to be done and doing it. Step 2, build a life you can actually tolerate. Here's the mistake people make. They try to go from rock bottom to perfection overnight. They say, tomorrow I'll wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, quit sugar, meditate for an hour, and write a novel. No, you won't. Your brain doesn't respect sudden revolutions. It respects consistency. Peterson recommends small, manageable improvements. Why? Because small wins build confidence, and confidence builds momentum. So instead of trying to overhaul your entire life on day one, ask, what is one thing I can do today that makes me 1% better than yesterday? Can I clean my room? Can I drink more water? Can I spend 10 minutes planning tomorrow? Do that every day for a year, and you're not the same person anymore. Step 3. Track the truth. One of Peterson's core psychological insights is this: you can't change what you refuse to track. If you're not measuring your habits, your emotions, your time, you're just guessing. So be honest. What time are you really going to bed? How many hours are you actually spending on your phone? How often are you lying to yourself about being productive? Get a notebook. Get an app. Use your notes app if you must, but track it. Because when you see the patterns, you start to understand what's broken and how to fix it. Step 4. Identify what you're aiming at. Here's a hard Peterson truth. People don't rise to the level of their dreams. They fall to the level of their systems. So ask yourself, what are you aiming at? Not in a vague, I want to be better kind of way, but specifically, what kind of person do you want to become? What do you want your mornings to look like? What habits do you want to die with? What kind of relationships do you want to cultivate? If you don't aim, you'll hit nothing, and hitting nothing consistently creates misery. Define your target, even if it's blurry, because that gives meaning to the pain of discipline. Step 5. Design your life to kill distractions. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if your environment is built for failure, you'll fail. Peterson emphasizes your environment matters more than your motivation. Delete apps that steal your attention. Block websites during work hours. Clean your physical space, yes, really. Tell your roommates or family about your goals so they respect your time. Unfollow people who make you feel envy instead of inspiration. The goal is simple. Make it easier to do what's right and harder to do what's wrong. That's what discipline really is. Not just willpower, but intentional design. Final note. You're not lazy. You're undirected. If you feel like you can't stick to anything if you keep sabotaging your own progress, hear this. You're not weak. You're just living without structure, without clarity, without internal laws. You need order. You need a map. And you need a reason to follow it, even when no one is watching. Discipline is how you build that foundation, not for the next week, but for the next version of you. Let's talk about something uncomfortable: sacrifice. In the modern world, the idea of giving something up, especially something we like, sounds wrong. Like suffering is outdated. We want to be happy. We want ease. But here's the thing Jordan Peterson keeps reminding us. You cannot have the resurrection without the crucifixion. Real transformation, deep identity level change always requires a death. The death of comfort, the death of bad habits, sometimes the death of who you used to be. What are you willing to burn? Resetting your life isn't about stacking more goals. It's about removing what's in the way. That means asking one brutal question: what part of me needs to die for the better part to live? Think about it. Maybe it's the version of you that parties to avoid loneliness. Maybe it's the part of you addicted to being liked. Maybe it's the boy who still blames his parents. Maybe it's the girl who lets fear make her small. This isn't poetic. It's real. Until you sacrifice the version of yourself that's holding you back, no amount of motivation will make a difference. Sacrifice isn't modern. It's ancient. Look at every ancient culture: Greek, Egyptian, Judeo-Christian, even tribal. They all understood something we've forgotten. You must give up something of value now to gain something greater later. In ancient stories, people brought food, animals, wealth to the altar, not just for gods, but to show they were serious. That they understood value doesn't come without cost. Peterson explains, sacrifice is delayed gratification. It's the principle that the future is more important than the now. Modern sacrifice looks different. You don't need to burn incense or slaughter a lamb. You need to do something harder. Give up what you love when it no longer serves you. Give up sleeping in if you want to build your future. Give up shallow relationships if you want to feel real love. Give up TikTok binges if you want to master focus. Give up victimhood if you want to lead. And here's the paradox. The more painful the sacrifice, the more powerful the transformation. That's not punishment, that's refinement. The psychological logic behind sacrifice. Here's how sacrifice works on a deep level. When you give something up voluntarily, you tell your brain you're in control. Instead of being ruled by cravings, fear, or laziness, you're asserting, I choose something better. I delay pleasure now for greatness later. This rewires your reward system. It reshapes your relationship with time, pain, and discipline. It creates long-term vision instead of short-term comfort. And slowly, you start becoming someone new, not because you chase pleasure, but because you outgrew it. Meaning comes from voluntary suffering. This is the core of Peterson's teaching. Meaning is what you pursue when you pick the heaviest load you can bear and walk forward anyway. Not happiness, not success, meaning. And meaning only comes when you take on voluntary suffering. You choose the hard path. You confront the dragon. You climb the mountain. And in doing so, you earn your transformation. It's not handed to you. It's carved into you by fire and choice. Your sacrifice assignment, let's make it practical. Ask yourself, what's one thing I enjoy but know is hurting me in the long run? What would my life look like if I gave it up for the next 30 days? What deeper version of me might emerge in its place? Write your answers. Speak them out loud. Then commit. Because every day you avoid sacrifice, you're trading your future for crumbs. Let's cut deeper. Because resetting your life isn't just about better habits or sharper discipline. It's about identity. Specifically, the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. And here's the brutal truth Jordan Peterson lays bare. You become what you repeat, even in your mind. Your identity isn't fixed. It's a narrative one you reinforce every time you say, I've always been like this. I'm not good with money. I'm too anxious to try. I always mess up relationships. Those aren't facts. They're scripts. And you've been performing them for years, maybe decades. The power of narrative psychology. In psychology, there's a concept called narrative identity. It means your brain organizes your memories, choices, and emotions into a coherent story about who you are. That story guides what you believe is possible, how you react under stress, what you think you deserve, and ultimately, how your future unfolds. Here's the catch. Most people didn't write their story. They inherited it from parents, trauma school failures. You're living a script you didn't author. Step 1. Identify the lies in your script. Peterson says, the purpose of life is to find the largest burden that you can bear and bear it. That begins by being brutally honest about the limiting beliefs you carry. Try this. What phrases do you say in your head on repeat? What stories do you tell yourself when things go wrong? What identity do you return to when you're afraid? Maybe it's, I'm always alone. People always leave me. Nothing ever works for me. I don't deserve love unless I succeed. These are not harmless thoughts. They are emotional blueprints. And if you don't rewrite them, you will rebuild your new life on the same broken foundation. Step 2. Speak a new identity into existence. This isn't toxic positivity. It's conscious authorship. Peterson often emphasizes the power of speech not just to communicate, but to shape reality. If you speak properly and your words align with the truth, then they have power. So, here's the challenge. Start telling yourself a new story even before you fully believe it. For example, I am a disciplined person becoming stronger each day. I am no longer a victim of my past. I am capable of creating structure and peace in my life. I am someone who finishes what I start. Say it aloud every day. Because when you speak a better future, you activate the part of your brain that starts moving toward it. Step 3. Re-edit your past. Reclaim your power. Here's a wild idea. You can't change what happened, but you can change what it means. Peterson explains that meaning is more powerful than memory. The same event, losing a job, being abandoned, failing, can either be a wound you keep bleeding from or a crucible that forged your new path. It depends on the story you attach to it. So rewrite it. That failure showed me what I never want again. That pain taught me boundaries. That rock bottom gave me the fire to rise. You don't erase the past. You reframe it. Why people resist identity change? Because deep down we all fear one thing. Who will I be if I stop being who I've always been? Even if you hate your current story, it's familiar. And the brain prefers the familiar over the unknown, even when it hurts. But ask yourself, if I died tomorrow, would I be proud of this story? If the answer is no, then today is the day to start editing. Final reflection. Resetting your life isn't just about adding new chapters. It's about going back to page 1 and asking, what kind of character do I want to be? What themes do I want my life to carry? What kind of ending would make it all worth it? Your story is still being written, and the pen is in your hand now. To be continued in Part 5, Build a Fortress. Guard your mind, guard your soul. Once you begin to rewrite your story, the next challenge appears. How do you protect it? Because make no mistake, the world will test your transformation. You'll be tempted, mocked, distracted, and worst of all, the old version of you, it doesn't die quietly. It lingers. It whispers. It waits for you to slip. That's why Jordan Peterson urges us to build not just a better schedule or story, but a fortress. You must guard your soul against the forces that will tear you apart. Let's talk about how to actually do that. Step 1. Audit your mental diet. We all understand that junk food ruins the body, but junk thoughts are far more dangerous because they masquerade as normal. Your mind is shaped by the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, the thoughts you entertain when no one's watching. So ask yourself, are you feeding your brain truth or distraction? Are your social feeds full of outrage, envy, and escapism? Are your conversations nourishing or numbing? Your mind becomes what it absorbs. And if you don't choose your inputs, someone else will usually to sell you something. Step 2. Close the gates. In medieval times, fortresses had gates and guards. Not everything could enter. Not everyone got access. You need to apply the same principle to your life. Peterson says, don't let the wrong people inside the walls of your soul. That means say no to invitations that compromise your values. Block out voices that fuel insecurity or chaos. Set clear emotional and time boundaries. Reduce exposure to people who drain you, even if they're family. You're not being selfish. You're being strategic. Not everyone should have a key to your inner world. Step 3, prepare for battle life will hit you. That's not pessimism, it's reality. And if you think you can reset your life without resistance, you've already lost. Peterson reminds us to stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. That posture, both physical and psychological, is a declaration I'm not hiding. I'm ready. So, prepare. Expect failure. Expect self-doubt. Expect pain. Then decide to keep going anyway. Because bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to walk forward in spite of it. Step 4. Create sacred spaces. Every fortress has a sanctuary. You need one too. A place, physical or internal, where you reconnect with purpose and peace. Peterson often speaks of the importance of sacred rituals, quiet mornings with coffee and reflection, prayer or meditation, journaling your goals or gratitude, nature walks without devices, listening to music that uplifts, not numbs. This is not about religion. It's about reverence, making space in your life that's untouchable by chaos. When the world goes mad, your sanctuary keeps you sane. Step 5. Stack. Discipline like stone. You don't build a fortress overnight. You lay one discipline brick at a time. One habit, one boundary, one mindset, one commitment. Each decision you make, no matter how small, is a stone in the wall that protects your future. Skip a workout, one stone missing. Ignore your schedule, another crack. Let envy stay in your mind, another opening. But every act of integrity, every moment of discomfort faced with courage, that's reinforcement. And over time, your life becomes something few things can penetrate. Final reflection, Peterson warns that the greatest threat to your transformation is not the enemy outside, but the weakness inside. So ask yourself, what weak spot in your fortress do I need to reinforce? What gate have I left unguarded? What old demon keeps slipping in because I refuse to face it? This isn't about paranoia. It's about protection. You've come too far to let your past break in through the back door. To be continued in Part 6, the company you keep, relationships that make or break you. You've built a structure. You've begun to rewrite your story. You've even laid the foundation of a fortress to guard your mind and soul. But now comes the test that breaks most people, the people you allow into your life. Because no matter how disciplined, motivated, or focused you are, your environment is stronger than your willpower. And nothing shapes your environment more than the humans you allow closest. Jordan Peterson says it plainly. If you have a friend whose friendship you wouldn't recommend to your sister, your father, or your son, why would you have such a friend for yourself? Let's unpack that. Step 1. Understand the law of emotional contagion. You catch feelings the same way you catch colds from people. Hang around complainers, you'll complain. Hang around risk-takers, you'll take action. Hang around people with low standards, you'll start lowering yours too. This is called emotional contagion, and it's real. Your nervous system tunes itself to the people you spend the most time with. So, if you're serious about resetting your life, you must take inventory. Who fuels you? Who drains you? Who holds you back because they're afraid you might outgrow them? Be honest, because the wrong people aren't just a distraction. They're a trap door back into your old self. Step 2. Cut with precision. One of the hardest truths Peterson teaches is this. If you hang around with people who support your addiction or who support your nihilism or who support your irresponsibility, you're not doing them a favor, and they're not doing you a favor either. Translation. Sometimes love means walking away. You don't have to be cruel. You don't need to make a scene. But you do need to decide. Is this relationship helping me become who I need to be? Or is it keeping me locked in who I used to be? If the answer is the latter, let go. Gently, firmly, but completely. Because growth demands room, and dead weight takes up space. Step 3. Seek allies, not just friends. You don't need 100 friends. You need a few allies who want to see you rise. Allies are people who tell you the truth even when it hurts. Celebrate your progress without envy. Call you out when you slip. Share your hunger for a meaningful life. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be on the path, climbing, falling, rising again like you. Peterson reminds us that the people we surround ourselves with act like mirrors. So look around. Are you looking into mirrors that reflect your highest self or your lowest version? Step 4. Upgrade the social contracts. Even good relationships need rules. Why? Because without clarity, resentment grows. Start setting emotional boundaries. I can't talk to you when you're high. I need space on Sundays to reset. If we're going to spend time together, let's avoid gossip. Please respect my goals, even if they're not yours. These aren't demands. They're invitations to rise with you. And those who resist, they were never meant to go with you in the first place. Step 5. Rewire how you choose people. It's not just about cutting toxic people. It's about changing the criteria you use to let people in. Don't ask, are they fun? Do they like me? Do they make me feel important? Ask instead, do they make me more honest? Do they challenge me to grow? Do they walk in alignment with who I want to become? The people you choose today are shaping the person you'll be a year from now. Choose with vision. Choose with care. Final reflection, Peterson puts it like this. You want people around you who are going to help you and not tear you down. And if you can surround yourself with people who aim up, then they will pull you along with them. So here's your challenge. Make a list of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Right next to each name pulls me up or pulls me down. Act accordingly, because who walks beside you matters just as much as where you're going. To be continued in Part 7. From chaos to order, master the inner war. So far, you've built structure. You've redefined your identity. You've begun protecting your energy and choosing powerful relationships. But there's one battlefield left, and it's the most brutal one of all, the war inside your own mind. Because, let's be honest, you can clean your room, eat healthy, read all the books. But if you're still a prisoner of anxiety, self-hate, confusion, or apathy, you haven't truly reset your life. Jordan Peterson's entire philosophy revolves around this. Order is the antidote to chaos. But to establish order, you must first confront the chaos within. Let's walk into that storm. Step 1. Accept that chaos is inevitable. Most people think peace means the absence of chaos. They wait for the day when everything calms down, when the stress disappears, when the voices stop. That day doesn't come. Life is intrinsically chaotic. There will always be uncertainty, heartbreak, stress, doubt, conflict, failure. Peterson teaches that the goal isn't to eliminate chaos, it's to become someone who can stand firm inside it. You don't run from the storm. You become the lighthouse. Step 2. Name the chaos. Chaos is vague until you give it a name. Is it fear of abandonment, shame about your past, anxiety about the future, grief you never processed, a belief that you are unworthy? Write it down. Speak it aloud. Because what you refuse to name, you can't change. Peterson says, if you confront the chaos voluntarily, you can find the order that resides within it. The dragons you face in your mind shrink the moment you stop pretending they're not there. Step 3 order begins with responsibility. Here's a truth most people avoid. You're not a victim of your mind, you're a manager of it. No one's coming to fix your thoughts. That's your job. And it starts with responsibility. Not guilt, not shame, but ownership. Ask, how do I contribute to my own chaos? What stories do I repeat that create anxiety? What daily choices keep me in disorder? Take responsibility not for the trauma, but for the healing. Not for the storm, but for how you sail through it. Step 4. Integrate order daily. You don't solve your inner chaos in one breakthrough moment. You chip away at it, one daily act of order at a time. Peterson recommends creating micro-rituals. Make your bed every morning, a signal to your mind that chaos can be tamed. Journal your thoughts every evening, turn emotion into clarity. Speak truth. Even in small conversations, integrity builds structure. Prioritize sleep and nutrition. A tired, malnourished brain cannot battle chaos. Every time you bring order to a part of your world, no matter how small, you weaken the grip of internal disorder. Step 5. Watch for the return of the shadow. Just when you think you've mastered yourself, the old version comes knocking. The lazy voice, the addict, the liar, the coward, the victim. This is what Carl Jung called the shadow, and Peterson expands on it often. Your shadow is everything you don't want to admit about yourself. But to master your life, you must make peace with it. That doesn't mean indulge it. It means confront it. understand it, and then choose to act from strength, not impulse. You're not your shadow, but if you ignore it, it will drive you. Final reflection. Chaos is not your enemy. It's your environment. How you respond to it determines who you become. And the good news, you're not powerless. You've learned structure, discipline, sacrifice, clarity, boundaries. Now is the time to apply all of it inward, because the most dangerous war is the one you fight alone and win. To be continued in Part 8. The new self, becoming the person you were meant to be. So we've arrived. You've cleared the clutter. You've confronted the chaos. You've rebuilt your beliefs, rewritten your identity, and guarded your soul. But the most important part, what comes next? Because change isn't real until it shows up in your daily life. Jordan Peterson makes it clear. You can't aim at nothing. You have to aim at something. Otherwise, your life is meaningless. So this final part is about aiming forward with clarity, purpose, and the courage to become someone you've never met before. Let's begin. Step 1. Define the new you. If your past was a story of pain, chaos, or smallness, then your future must be a story of vision. Ask yourself, what kind of man or woman do I want to be by the end of this year? What habits would that person have? What standards would they refuse to break? How would they walk, speak, think, lead? Don't be vague. Be exact. Write it down. Describe that version of you in detail, because you cannot become what you cannot see. Step 2. Accept the growth curve. Resetting your life is not magic. It's a system. And systems take time. There will be days when you slip, moments when you question the point. People who remind you of your past, voices in your head that whisper, nothing's changed. But you must remember, you're not who you were yesterday. You're who you're becoming today. Transformation doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency in direction. So when you fall, don't collapse. Course correct and continue. Step 3. Stack your future brick by brick. Here's where it becomes real. Every action you take is either a vote for your old self or a vote for your new one. That means when you wake up early instead of hitting snooze, 1 vote. When you hold your tongue instead of lashing out, 1 vote. When you go to the gym, skip the drink, write the page, 1 vote. You're not just building habits. You're casting votes for the identity you want to embody. And over time, that person emerges not because you found them, but because you built them. Step 4. Walk with fire and humility. This new self will be stronger, more confident, more capable. But beware, with strength comes temptation. The temptation to look down on others still struggling. The temptation to perform instead of live. The temptation to believe you've arrived. Peterson warns, you should become formidable, but also disciplined. Power without humility is tyranny. So wear your progress like armor, not a crown. Help others rise. Stay teachable. Remember the pain that shaped you and never forget who you used to be. Step 5. Step into the world and take up space. Your life isn't meant to be reset just for your own peace. It's meant to ripple, because when you speak truth, live with discipline, walk in purpose, face suffering with strength, you become a living invitation for others to do the same. Your kids, your friends, your enemies, strangers on the internet, they'll feel the shift, and some will follow. Peterson says, your actions ripple across the structure of being. It matters what you do, so do it boldly. Step forward, speak clearly, aim high, and walk like someone who knows what they're doing here, because now you do. Final words. This isn't a motivational video. This is a roadmap, a system, a path, one built not on hype, but on truth, sacrifice, order, and courage. You don't reset your life with inspiration. You reset it with action repeated, aligned, and aimed toward something higher. So today, choose one thing to let go of, one thing to build, one way to speak better, one standard to raise, one person to inspire. Do it not because it's easy, but because the version of you you're becoming deserves it.